Consumers have been warned to ensure that they do not borrow money from one of the 4,000 credit providers whose registration with the National Credit Regulator has lapsed. These providers are now operating illegally and often charge exorbitant interest, impose hidden and often illegal fees, and use dubious collection practices. With the steep cost of living continuing to bite, some consumers find themselves at the mercy of credit providers who are at times not legal. But to find out how you can protect yourself, I've invited Leonie van Pletzen, the CEO of MicroFinance South Africa, to join us. Leonie, thank you for joining us on Point. Tell us about just how widespread the issue of these unregulated credit providers operating in the country is. Is it something we see year in, year out, or how did we find ourselves here?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think the issue of unregistered credit providers has grown significantly, posing a serious threat to both consumers and the formal credit industry. Unregistered or illegal lenders often operate outside of the legal law, making it difficult to track the exact numbers. I think this is a very, very serious issue, something that the association is also addressing with the National Credit Regulator to make sure that we enforce on these illegal credit providers.
Yeah, Leonie, how did you track these 4,000? What made you zoom into them, and how did you identify them?
I think, the identification of the illegal credit providers is actually a very difficult number. I think it's much more than 4,000 rand. It's even the guys that are not registered or that hasn't ever been registered with the National Credit Regulator. They are operating, in communities, and they are definitely abusing the consumers. So I think the number of 4,000 can actually be more, and that's why we need enforcement action, and that's why the NCR is also trying the best they can to enforce on these illegal credit providers.
Yeah. To what extent is this high cost of living that we find ourselves in, and credit unworthiness, most importantly, exacerbating this problem?
You know what, we are finding that consumers don't have access to fair and legal credit providers, to guys that are registered with the National Credit Regulator. What then happens is they are desperate and they go to this illegal market, and then unfortunately this puts them in a debt spiral. They cannot pay off these mashonisas or these loan sharks, and then they just get into this habit of going to them every month, and that is the problem that our consumers are facing.
Yeah, of course, these illegal mashonisas, they've become very much creative in how they are lending out money, and quite discreet, I must say. But how can we as consumers identify and avoid falling prey to them?
So the first thing you have to do is make sure that they are registered with the NCR. If you go to ncr.org.za, there's a list of registered credit providers. So if you go to any credit provider, make sure that they are registered. Also, don't offer them any documentation that they want to keep. So for instance, an ID book, a card, PIN numbers, and make sure that they discuss and they inform you what the fees are that they are going to charge you.
Yeah. So, but what are the measures that the NCR itself and other authorities are taking to address the issue? Because it is something that we talk about quite often.
Yes, the NCR is actively working to combat these illegal credit providers through increased enforcement and awareness campaigns. They conduct investigations and take legal actions against these unregistered credit providers. They're also collaborating with the association to make sure that we report them to the National Credit Regulator. However, to effectively tackle this issue, more resources and strong enforcement mechanisms are needed, which the MFSA fully supports.
Yeah, let's backtrack a little bit, Leonie, and talk about the fact that the very reason that these mashonistas exist is because there is a market, or there is a business for them, and we ideally would want them to be registered. More than that, we would want them to be closed. Why do you think, firstly, that there's a reluctance to sign up and be registered with the NCR? Is it a matter of cost, or is it people not knowing exactly what they need to do? And sometimes you can get scared of something you don't even know.
I think that's a brilliant question. Thank you so much. I think the cost of compliance and understanding compliance is very difficult for these illegal credit providers. Also, the fact that the legal markets fees has not been reviewed in 10 years. So just taking all of the cost of compliance into consideration, for 10 years, there has been no review on our fees. So taking POPI, FIC compliance, how to collect your money, it's not sustainable for these credit providers to be registered anymore. So either they close down their businesses or they go illegal. And then for a mashonisa to become a legal credit provider, understanding the compliance requirements is overwhelming. But that's where the association, we collaborate, we work with different stakeholders, we work with the NCR to make sure that we get these credit providers in the fold and make them compliant.
At the time when we were preparing and telling a lot of stories here at the SABC about the two-pot withdrawals, I would look up social media in particular to look at what people are saying, general people are saying, and I found that there were a lot of, obviously in a humorous manner, people saying that I'm going to a mashonisa because I'm waiting for the two-pot withdrawal to kick in so that I'll be able to pay the mashonisas. Do you think that in reality is something that you saw in your line of work?
You know, the unfortunate realities of the mashonisas now is it's not only a 2,000 or a 3,000 rand repayment. We are seeing repayments of 24,000 rand, 30,000 rand per month. So the reality is some of these consumers are very stretched and they are looking at other avenues to pay these mashonisas. I think the problem that we are sitting with is not just a community-based problem anymore. It's becoming a huge problem, and it's really causing over-indebtedness to the consumers.
Yeah, and just before I let you go, there are consumers who could be watching it and finding themselves at the throngs of debt and mashonisas. How can they start to wiggle out of that? Do you have any tips for them?
Yes, so they can definitely contact the association, visit our website, www.mfsa.net. They can contact the NCR, ncr.org.za, and then they can also contact the National Financial Ombud. The National Financial Ombud is there for the consumers to make sure that they are protected. So there's definitely avenues for them.
Leonie van Pletzen, the CEO of MicroFinance South Africa, joining us talking about those 4,000 unregistered credit providers that you should be aware of because they charge exorbitant interest rates, and of course you could find yourself in a cycle, so we do plead you to take caution and be aware of that.